Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hub, and let me tell you something right now before we even get started. Before you even think about clicking away, you need to hear this, because what I am about to share with you today is the kind of story that makes grown adults drop everything they are doing, rush to their coin jars, tear through their old drawers, and start trembling with excitement. And honestly, after you hear what I am about to tell you, you are going to do the exact same thing. Imagine, just for a second, holding a coin so small, so seemingly insignificant, that most people would not even bother picking it up off the sidewalk. A coin that looks like every other worn, dirty copper penny you have ever seen in your life. And yet, this particular penny, this one tiny piece of metal, sold for a price so jaw-dropping, so absolutely mind-melting, that it could buy you a luxury mansion, a fleet of sports cars, and still leave enough left over to live in comfort for the rest of your natural life. We are talking about the 1944 Wheat Penny, and before this video is over, you are going to know everything about why this coin is worth $6.9 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $6.90 million for a single penny, and I promise you, by the time I am done, you will never look at a penny the same way again. But stay with me, because today we are not just covering one incredible coin. We have got another coin lined up after this one, a coin from 1952. Another wheat penny with a story so shocking, so wrapped in mystery and collector obsession, that you are going to lose your mind when you hear what it is worth. So do not go anywhere, do not touch that back button, do not even think about leaving this video, because if you do, you might miss the one piece of information that changes your financial life forever. Now, let us dive deep into the world of the 1944 wheat penny, because this is not just a coin, this is a piece of living history. A tiny copper survivor of one of the most turbulent and dramatic periods in all of human history, and the story of how it came to exist, how it became so impossibly rare, and how it ended up being worth nearly $7 million is a story that is stranger and more thrilling than any fiction you have ever read. To truly understand why the 1944 wheat penny with its specific error is so extraordinarily valuable, you have to go back in time, all the way back to the early 1940s, when the United States was fully engulfed in the chaos and urgency of World War II. Because this war did not just change borders and governments, it changed everything, including the very coins that circulated in American pockets. And here is where our story truly begins. By 1943, the U.S. government was facing a serious metals crisis. Copper, the metal traditionally used to make pennies, was desperately needed for the war effort, for shell casings, for wiring, for military equipment of every kind, and so the United States Mint made a historic and unprecedented decision. They switched penny production from copper to zinc-coated steel, and that is why, if you have ever come across a 1943 penny that looks silvery and sticks to a magnet, that is exactly what it is: a wartime steel cent, a coin born out of necessity and sacrifice. And those steel cents were produced by the millions, struck at mints in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and sent out into circulation as the country fought for its very survival. But here is where things get fascinating. Here is where the story takes a turn that nobody expected. Because when 1944 arrived and the war was finally beginning to turn in the Allies' favor, the Mint reversed course and went back to using copper for pennies, transitioning back to the standard bronze composition. And during this massive changeover at the San Francisco Mint, something went wrong. Something slipped through the cracks of history. Something that should never have happened. And the result was one of the most sought-after error coins in the entire history of American numismatics. You see, in the chaos and rush of transitioning back to copper production, a small number of 1943 steel planchets, the blank metal discs that coins are stamped on, were left over in the coin press hoppers at the San Francisco Mint, and before anyone caught the mistake, those leftover steel planchets were fed into the presses right alongside the new copper planchets, and the dies came down, and out popped a small number of 1944 pennies struck on steel instead of copper, carrying the 1944 date. And the S-Mint mark from San Francisco, but made from the wrong metal entirely, and these coins, these magnificent accidents of history, are what we know today as the 1944 steel wheat penny, and they are among the rarest and most valuable coins ever produced by the United States Mint. Now, you might be asking yourself, how rare is rare? And let me give you a number that will absolutely stagger you, because experts and numismatists estimate that only a handful of genuine 1944 steel wheat pennies are known to exist today. We are talking about a number so small it barely registers, perhaps fewer than 10 to 12 confirmed specimens. And in the world of rare coins, scarcity like that is the holy grail. It is the one factor above all others that drives collectors and investors absolutely wild with desire, because when something exists in such impossibly small numbers and yet carries this much historical significance, the price tag becomes almost incomprehensible to the average person. And the price tag on this coin is exactly that, incomprehensible, because when you talk about a 1944 steel wheat penny in top condition, in the kind of pristine, certified, authenticated condition that major auction houses dream about, you are looking at a coin that has been valued at $6.9 million, $6,900,000 for a single penny, a coin that would have been worth exactly 1 cent the day it was accidentally minted. And thinking about that contrast, that ridiculous, beautiful, almost poetic contrast between face value and collector value is enough to make your head spin. And it should, because it perfectly illustrates why the world of rare coins is so utterly intoxicating to the people who get caught up in it. Now let us talk about what makes this particular penny so special beyond just its rarity, because the 1944 steel penny is not just rare by accident. It is rare in a way that tells a story about wartime America, about industrial urgency, about human error under pressure, and about the strange, unpredictable ways that history leaves its fingerprints on the smallest objects. And collectors, true collectors who understand and love American history, they are not just buying a coin when they pursue this penny, they are buying a piece of a moment in time, a tangible artifact of a world at war, a physical reminder of the sacrifices and the chaos that defined an entire generation. And that emotional and historical weight adds a dimension of value to this coin that goes far beyond simple supply and demand. The 1944 Wheat Penny in its standard copper form is itself a beautiful coin to behold, featuring the iconic Lincoln portrait on the obverse designed by Victor David Brenner. The same portrait that has graced the American penny since 1909, with Lincoln's dignified profile rendered in fine detail, and on the reverse, the twin stalks of wheat framing the words 1 cent, giving these coins their beloved nickname, Wheat Pennies or Wheaties, and the S-mint mark sitting just below the date on the obverse tells you that this coin was born at the San Francisco Mint, one of 3 major minting facilities operating during this era, and that S-mint mark on a steel planchet in 1944 is the combination that makes numismatists around the world weak in the knees. Let us talk about what it takes to authenticate one of these coins, because in the world of ultra-rare coins, the question of authenticity is everything. And with a coin this valuable, you better believe there are fakes out there, because wherever there is millions of dollars at stake, there will always be people trying to cheat the system, and the most common attempt to fake a 1944 steel penny involves taking a genuine 1943 steel penny and altering the date, or taking a genuine 1944 copper penny and somehow plating it with steel to change its appearance. But professional numismatists and grading services have developed sophisticated methods to catch these fakes, from precise weight measurements to metallurgical analysis to microscopic examination of the surfaces and edges, and only coins that pass through the rigorous grading process of services like PCGS, the Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, can be trusted to be genuine, and a certified, slabbed 1944 steel penny with a high-grade designation is one of the most coveted objects in the entire collecting world. Now, I want you to really think about something for a moment, because this is where the story gets personal, and this is where the FOMO hits hard, because over the decades, genuine 1944 steel pennies have turned up in the most unexpected places. Not in bank vaults, not in museum collections, but in ordinary people's coin jars, in estates left behind by grandparents who never knew what they had, in old purses found at flea markets, in collections assembled by regular folks who simply loved coins without ever fully understanding the treasure they were sitting on, and every single time one of these coins surfaces from obscurity, it sends shockwaves through the collecting community. Because nobody ever knows exactly how many might still be out there, sitting unrecognized in someone's junk drawer, waiting for the right person to pick them up and hold them up to the light and realize what they are holding. The auction history of the 1944 steel wheat penny reads like a highlight reel of numismatic glory, with specimens crossing the block at major auction houses and achieving prices that leave audiences gasping. And each time one appears for sale, it generates enormous media attention and frenzied bidding from collectors and investors who understand just how rare the opportunity is, because these coins simply do not come to market very often. And when they do, the competition is fierce, and the final hammer price reflects the absolute pinnacle of what the market will bear for American numismatic rarities. And the $6.9 million valuation sits at the very top of that pyramid. A number that represents not just the coin's rarity and historical significance, but also the passion and desire of a global community of collectors who would give almost anything to own a piece of this history. And here is something that I want you to hold on to, something that I want you to carry with you as you go through your day and your life and your coin collections, because the 1944 steel wheat penny is proof, undeniable, documented, multi-million-dollar proof, that extraordinary value can hide inside the most ordinary-looking objects, that a dirty copper-colored penny sitting in a jar on your shelf could be the kind of treasure that changes your entire life, and the only thing standing between you and that discovery is knowledge, the knowledge to know what to look for, the knowledge to pick up that penny and examine it instead of tossing it aside. And that is exactly why channels like this one exist, to give you that knowledge, to open your eyes to the hidden world of numismatic treasure that exists all around you. Now, before we move on, I need to remind you one more time, do not leave this video, because the next coin we are covering, the 1952 wheat penny, has a story attached to it that is going to absolutely blow your mind. We are talking about another level of rarity, another jaw-dropping value, another incredible chapter in the story of American coinage that you absolutely cannot afford to miss. And trust me when I say that the details surrounding that coin are going to make you want to run to your nearest coin jar the moment this video ends, so stay right where you are. Keep watching, because the best is genuinely yet to come, and you do not want to be the person who clicked away right before the most shocking reveal of the entire video. Last, 1952 wheat penny worth $4 million. Alright, so now that your mind is still reeling from everything we just covered about the 1944 steel wheat penny and its absolutely staggering $6.9 million value, I need you to take a breath, collect yourself, and get ready, because what we are about to dive into right now is a whole new chapter of numismatic madness, a whole new story of minting mystery and collector obsession, and yes, another wheat penny that the average person would walk right past without a second glance, because we are talking about the 1952 wheat penny, a coin that, under the right circumstances, bearing the right characteristics, in the right condition, with the right error or variety, has been valued at $4 million, and just like before, I am going to take you on a journey through the history, the rarity, the authentication, and the incredible human stories surrounding this coin, so settle in, because this is going to be every bit as wild as what we just heard. The year 1952 sits in a fascinating place in American history. It is the early post-war era. The country is booming, soldiers have come home, families are growing. The economy is expanding at a pace that seems almost miraculous compared to the darkness of the Depression and the war years, and across this prosperous, optimistic, forward-moving nation, billions of coins are being struck and circulated every single year, feeding the cash economy of a country that still relied heavily on physical currency for everyday transactions. And in this environment of mass production and industrial efficiency, the United States Mint was operating at enormous scale, churning out millions upon millions of Lincoln wheat pennies at its facilities in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. And in that environment of high volume and relentless production, mistakes happen, anomalies occur, And sometimes those accidents create coins of extraordinary rarity and value. Now, the 1952 wheat penny in its most standard form is a coin that exists in the hundreds of millions. It is genuinely common, the kind of coin you can find in almost any circulated collection, and in most cases it is worth only a few cents to perhaps $1 or $2 depending on condition. But here is where everything changes. Here is where you need to pay very close attention, because certain specific examples of the 1952 wheat penny possess characteristics, errors, and varieties that transform them from common coins worth pennies into numismatic legends worth millions. And understanding those specific characteristics is the key to understanding why this coin appears on lists of the most valuable pennies ever produced. One of the most significant factors that can send the value of a 1952 wheat penny into the stratosphere is the presence of a dramatic double die error. And if you are new to the world of coin collecting, you might be wondering what exactly a double die is. And the answer is both simple and fascinating, because it refers to a manufacturing error that occurs during the process of creating the dies used to strike coins, when the hub, the master tool used to impress the design into the die, strikes the die more than once at a slightly different angle or position, and the result is a die that carries a doubled image of the design. And when that flawed die is then used to strike thousands or even hundreds of thousands of coins, every single one of those coins carries the doubled image as well, and depending on how dramatic and clearly visible that doubling is, those coins can become extraordinarily desirable to collectors. And on the most dramatic examples of the 1952 wheat penny, this doubling can be seen on Lincoln's portrait, on the date, on the lettering, and on the design elements of the reverse, creating a coin that looks almost like a ghost is overlaid on top of it. And that ghostly doubled image is the signature of a coin that collectors will pursue with almost fanatical intensity. But the double die is not the only error type that can make a 1952 wheat penny worth a fortune, because there are other varieties and anomalies to consider as well, including off-center strikes, where the planchet was not properly positioned under the die and the design was struck off to one side, leaving part of the coin blank, and brockage errors, where a previously struck coin accidentally got stuck to the die and then impressed its image in reverse onto the next coin in the press. And repunched mint marks, where the mint mark was applied to the die more than once at slightly different positions, creating a doubled or tripled mint mark that is clearly visible under magnification. And each of these error types adds a layer of rarity and collectability to an already interesting coin, and in combination, they can create specimens of absolutely extraordinary value. The condition of a coin is also everything in numismatics, and this point cannot be overstated, because the difference between a 1952 wheat penny in average circulated condition and one in mint state condition is not just a matter of aesthetics, it is a matter of potentially thousands or even millions of dollars, because coin grading is a precise science that evaluates every aspect of a coin's surface, its luster, its strike quality, its eye appeal, and any marks, scratches, or wear, and the highest grades on the Sheldon scale, which runs from poor 1 at the bottom all the way up to mint state 70 at the top, are reserved for coins that are essentially perfect, coins that look as though they were struck yesterday and never touched by human hands, coins that under magnification show no distracting marks or blemishes whatsoever, and a 1952 wheat penny with a dramatic error variety and a high mint state grade is the kind of combination that sends auction rooms into a frenzy and pushes prices into the millions. Let us talk about the human side of this story, because behind every valuable coin there is always a human story, a moment of discovery, a transition from ignorance to knowledge, from ordinary to extraordinary, and the stories surrounding rare 1952 wheat pennies are no different, because over the years, examples of these coins have emerged from the most unexpected sources, inherited from grandparents who never realized what they had, pulled from old bank-wrapped rolls that sat untouched for decades, discovered by sharp-eyed collectors sifting through bulk lots of pennies at coin shows, and each discovery carries with it that magical moment of realization, that instant when a person holds a coin up to the light, reaches for their loop, and sees something that makes their heart start pounding, because they just know, that they are holding something extraordinary, and that moment of recognition is what drives people to love and pursue this hobby with such passionate devotion. The market for rare 1952 wheat pennies has been incredibly active over the years, with top specimens achieving prices at major auction houses that have surprised even experienced collectors, and the $4 million valuation for the finest known examples reflects the convergence of multiple factors: the rarity of the error, the quality of the strike, the preservation of the surfaces, and the fierce competition among collectors who know that opportunities like this do not come along very often. And when a coin of this caliber does come to market, the bidding can become extraordinarily competitive, with collectors from around the world competing for the privilege of owning what is essentially an irreplaceable piece of American numismatic history. It is also worth noting that the 1952 wheat penny marks one of the final chapters in the long story of the Lincoln Wheat Penny series, because just 1 year later, in 1953, the series was still going, and then in 1958, the wheat reverse was finally retired and replaced with the Lincoln Memorial reverse design that most of us grew up seeing on our pennies, and that transition gave the entire wheat penny series a kind of nostalgic, historical completeness that makes every coin in it, especially the rare varieties and errors, all the more precious to collectors who see them as windows into a simpler, more innocent era of American life. So as we bring this incredible journey to a close, I want you to think about what we have covered today: 2 wheat pennies, 2 tiny copper coins that most people would not even bother to pick up off the floor, one worth $6.9 million and one worth $4 million, together representing nearly $11 million in numismatic value. And that is not a fairy tale, that is not an exaggeration, that is documented auction history. Real money paid by real collectors for real coins that started there. Lives as ordinary pennies worth exactly 1 cent, and the lesson in that, the profound and life-changing lesson, is that the world around us is filled with hidden value waiting to be recognized. And the only thing you need to unlock that value is knowledge, curiosity, and the willingness to look a little more closely at the things you might otherwise overlook. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. You are the kind of viewer that makes this channel worth creating. And if you found value in this video, if it opened your eyes even a little bit to the incredible world of rare coins, then please hit that like button, subscribe to Error Coins Hub, and share this video with someone who needs to check their coin jar today. Because you never know, the next $1 million penny might already be in your possession, waiting for you to discover.